Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, welcome back to another Swatching Sundays, and this week we're looking at Arttitude Cosmetics' new palette Ink and Roses. It's available right now for purchase, but of course, full disclosure, this was actually sent to me by the brand via PR, so a massive thank you to Rooks for that. She's the brand owner. I am also an affiliate with the brand. If you use my code Teresa10 you'll get some money off and I earn a commission. We've got that all out of the way, but I think it's very important to know that because these sort of things can somewhat impact kind of your perceptions of things, and I just prefer to be as upfront on these things as possible. So this is available right now. It's part of their Valentine's Day launch, and this is the palette. It's a whole thing. Now obviously, to get the best possible idea of what this looks like, I like to swatch it across lots of different conditions, lots of different lighting, inside, outside, and I've added in a new segment which was very much inspired by the fabulous Terry, thank you so much, where we look at the blending of the shadows and see how some of these shadows might interact with each other. So for example, tapping a shimmer onto a matte, what sort of an effect is that going to have? And I'm also checking to see whether or not these swatches are going to stain. So when you remove them, is there any sort of a long-lasting impact? So if you're interested in seeing all of that information, then do please keep on watching. That's the rest of the video. The stencil is down, we have the palette here, and I have some clean fingers, so let's get into it. We have our first row here, and it's very matte heavy. I will say that this matte here, it's calligraphy. It feels a smidgen grittier than the rest. However, I have used this in a look, as you might have seen during the week, and it does blend really, really nicely. These two, absolutely gorgeous, very smooth, very buttery, very creamy. Look, I'm just giving into it now. Then this shade here, Blossom, really beautiful, sort of a metallic shade here as well. So we have the shade Thorn, Blossom, Love, and Calligraphy. As per usual, I'm going to build that up to full opacity. We have our next four shades, and can I just say that putting my little paw prints into these pans has destroyed a little bit of my soul, because they have these beautiful imprints in it, and I'm trying to go as delicately and as lightly in there as possible because there's these beautiful little rose prints on them, and I'm like, no, I want to keep them as they are. But that's my own issue. So we have kind of two slightly more metallic-y shades here. We have the shade Ink and Inkwell. I did find that Inkwell is quite soft, so you can probably see I have an excess of that on the finger, so kind of be very careful with that. You may want to tap it out before putting it onto your eyelid. These two shades, stunning, beautiful mattes, again very, very creamy. So we have Ink, and look at the shade of glitter in that, it's stunning. We have Bloom, and that builds up beautifully. I have no base on that, so keep that in mind. And we have Inkwell here. I did take a little bit of too much onto that, but look at that, it does smooth out very, very well. And Petal. Our next row then has two mattes, again really nice and pigmented, not a huge amount of fallout on that, so I'm quite impressed. Then we have two more metallics. Initially I thought this was going to be very gritty because it looked like in the pan that it was almost glittery, but no, it smooths out to be really that very nice emollient sort of a metallic. We have Scribe, Eternal, Roses, and Secret. And we have our last four shades. So obviously this shade here, it's called Whisper. And this is a little bit more of a duochrome. There's that kind of blue to purple, a little bit gold in there. This particular matte green, and I know I have shimmers all over myself, it is what it is. There was a little bit of a grit to that when swatching, and I also want to call attention to this shade Scribe that I had put here. It did take several swatches to get it to full opacity, but it is there. It's just one of those like very buildable sort of shades, which I personally quite like, but some people may not like that. But let's be fully transparent and say what the story is. This is Wilted, so that was the one that felt a little bit gritty, but we're getting good payoff there. We have Parchment, Whisper, which is more of the duochrome, oh, beautiful, and Sepia. So now we have the whole palette swatched. I do want to call attention to these two shades here. There's Parchment and there's Sepia. And on me, there's a very slight distinction. Probably on the eye, they wouldn't be that noticeable. But this has kind of happened before with Arttitude Cosmetics, where they look similar on me, but on deeper skin tones, they kind of pull a little bit differently. So take all of that with a pinch of salt. Sometimes undertones will carry things in a particular way. But let's remove this and see what the story is. Okay, I mean, I think this is beautiful. It's very muted. That's kind of what we're seeing a lot from brands these days. That pale green bloom, it's absolutely stunning. I will say I've tried that with a white base and it pops. Even there, it's popping quite a bit. And that's very difficult for those sort of pastel shades to manage. Now, in the way that we have this right now, I have a ring light at a 90-degree angle. So it's going to kind of dampen some of this because I have quite a bit of light on, including some box lights. But you can see those mattes are really showing. And even here, those shimmers, they're not bad at all. They're showing up pretty nicely. Obviously, our next condition now is to add in that little bit extra light, simply because I'm a glutton for punishment. The overhead light is on and basically we couldn't get any more bright in here unless we went to the sun itself. I really want to call attention to this shade here, Bloom. Don't look at all the dirt that's under my nails. It's from all the swatching. We won't get into it. Look at how pigmented that is. And I am very pale, so it's showing off quite well here. I'm very impressed with that. The shade Scribe, as I said, that's the grey one. That did take a bit of building up, but you can see that actually came out really nicely. And these two shades here, I feel like in this lighting, you can see the distinctions between them even better now. Like this is much more kind of like pinky toned peach, and this is more of like an orangey toned peach. It just captures it a little bit better. So even under all of these intense lights, you can see it pretty darn well. Obviously though, we're going to start taking out some of these lights to see the shimmers, etc. in greater detail. So we have a singular source of light now, and it is just our ring light. Again, I feel you're starting to see those shimmers that little bit better. I mean, this shade here, it's a gorgeous duochrome. Granted, is it the sort of duochrome that you might have? Quite possibly. It's not like a super rare or unusual one. I am totally obsessed with that shade Ink. That is stunning. I put that onto some of the mattes the other day in my video using the palette, and I genuinely think it is absolutely gorgeous because there's some sort of like blue and lilac-y sparkles in there. It is absolutely stunning. And even here, I feel like you can get a good glimpse as to the level of shine that we're getting. However, you know me, my favourite part is the next bit where we descend into darkness and just have a torchlight, like we're going spelunking or something. So that's our next bit. It is very dark in here right now, but you can see those levels of sparkles. And you know me, this is my favourite bit. Let's get weird. Well, weirder than normal. And I do think you can see those duochromy shifts pretty nicely here. Let's look at those sparkles. Ugh, I can't help it. This is the sort of thing that I love. This is a very matte heavy palette though, so I personally quite like that. And I think the reason why she's done that is that she's also coming out with 4 multi-chromes, and I am very tempted to get them. Also, can we look at how amazing that looks in the pan? It's beautiful. I'm very tempted to get those multi-chromes, and she has that really cute little stackable palette, and I'm like, okay, twist my rubber arm, why don't you? And I can see how they would augment this palette. But not everyone necessarily wants multi-chromy shades. They want to have some good mattes. I'm one of those people. I love a good matte. Although I also love multi-chromes. I love things indiscriminately. If it has interesting pigments, I'm there and I want it. And I want to shove it onto my face and my eyelids and my fingers and my arms. Because, I mean, why not? You can't judge me. But it is so beautiful. You're getting that really nice level of sparkle. Like, look at that. Look at that golden shade. That is so beautiful. Let's try and bring you up here and you can see it. Ugh. That's so fabulous. I'm going to try and move this around again. One day I'll figure out how to do this. Also, just look at the palette and look how it's sparkling. That's ridiculous. It looks like it's treasure. Can I like go into the bank and be like, here, take this palette? Look at it. It must be gold and jewels. Like it's ridiculous. It's stunning. But you can see the level of shimmer here, really beautiful. But for me, and don't get me wrong, shimmers are absolutely gorgeous, but the mattes are really standing out. She changed her matte formula. And don't get me wrong, liked it before, but these last few releases have just been like really bringing the brand up by several notches, and I am so excited for it. Absolutely fantastic. But look away, obviously, if you're like trying to save money. Like, don't get this. Definitely don't. It's beautiful. It's my kind of colour story. You know me, I'm really into it. But we're going to see what this looks like on another camera, just to do some extra due diligence. So I'm on my phone now, and I think even here you can see the sparkles. Let's be weird and zoom in. Look at that gorgeous shade up at the top. You're seeing some blues, some golds, some kind of coppery tones and purple in there. It's really interesting and dimensional. I think I'm going to have to use one of those or that particular shade to tap on to one of the mattes, because I think it's going to be one of those transformational shades. Like even that shade Ink, I use that on my eyelid. I'm obsessed with it. You can see the blues and the purples there, at least to some degree. That shade Inkwell, the black one, there's kind of more silvery sparkles in there. And yes, some of it fed out into Scribe. And I kind of love that. I think I may mesh the two of them together in the next bit, as inspired by the fabulous Terry. And here we have our multi-chrome. Here, it's appearing very pink. And you might have seen earlier, it looked a little bit more purple. So we're starting to see it in a couple of different angles as to what it actually looks like. Do not judge my messy desk. Okay? You also live in filth. Let's pretend that, you know, let's not pretend. Sorry, I don't know. I'm very distracted by sparkles. But it is very, very pretty. Let's wander into some more lighting conditions because, you know, we do due diligence over here. But just let's have some last little sparkles. Da da da, da da da. Yeah, I'm not a composer, obviously. That is gorgeous. Oh, I'm going to have to use that more. That's beautiful. But yes, let's frolic and see what else this does. So I'm here in indirect light, just kind of cowering next to a window. Let's budge over a little bit. So you can see I have absolutely no direct light on. There's no overhead light, but the sparkles, they're still coming out. Let's move around here. Don't look at the laundry. That's none of your business. God, you're so nosy, guys. Ugh. Why are you like that? Why are you the person that you are? Look at that, how that's turning out like more red than it was earlier. Like that's, I'm talking about that one up at the top. That's really interesting, and it was really golden earlier. Ugh, beautiful. Can I get weird and too into it? Possibly. Oh, look at that sparkle. Not fabulous. Stunning. But let's try and look at it in indirect light as well. Unfortunately, I have no sunlight. It's very, very grey outside today. It looks like something from a horror movie. It's fabulous. I really like it. I'm in indirect light here, sitting at the windowsill, thinking about my life choices. But I feel like this is a good life choice. Like, look at these. I am obsessed with this shade here, Ink. I just think it's so beautiful, that purple and blue. I know I should be all about this duochrome. I know that we're meant to care about those special shades. But you know what? It doesn't grab me as much as Ink. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it loud. That shade Bloom, that pale green, amazing. Do I think that they needed a few more greens in this? Possibly, but that's just because I'm like an absolute biased bee when it comes to greens. But it looks fabulous. Also, if you hear water in the background, don't. You're imagining things. It might be a stroke. Who knows? No, it's just my plumbing. It's a whole no, and that's not a euphemism. Just taps are refilling, all that sort of thing. Because toilets have been used. I know you don't want to think about me peeing, but it does happen. Anyways, let's go outside, even though there's absolutely F all light, but I mean, that's realistic for Ireland, and we'll get a little bit more information on this. I'm going to have to record quickly because it's starting to drizzle, but this is what it looks like outside in not even natural sunlight, natural light, and there's F all happening, but you can still see those shimmers are operating quite nicely. You're getting a nice effect from it. Yeah, I don't want to get wet. Yeah, I mean, this is what it is. I'll obviously switch over to my camera phone now. This is underwhelming only in the sense that I have no light and I'm cold and I'm wet, which is the name of my autobiography. I'm cold and I'm wet. Available now in all good bookstores. Also, I love when they say, oh, it's available now in all good bookstores. Like, such a dig at anyone that isn't carrying their book. Like, oh, your bookstore is bad because it's not holding it. And I'm like, oh, I love that. Very passive aggressive. Yes, it is raining. Enjoy that for me. West of Ireland, of course it is. Like, I looked at the weather app and it was like 100% chance of rain. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what is it? Anyways, you can see it in this light. It is very impressive. I want to show you that shade ink because it has my heart. That's the duochrome shade. You can literally see goosebumps. I'm cold. It's very cold. Anyways, it feels like it's more cold right now than it was when we had like ice and stuff, which is, anyways, whatever. I did just come in from like a fire, or come out from a fire. I don't know. Very confusing. Anyways, that's what it looks like. But we have our new section now where we're blending and mixing and doing things, and it's very exciting for us all. I have a little blending brush here and I have my arm filled with swatches. Now, the shades that I have blended out before in a previous video includes Thorn, Calligraphy, Petal, and Bloom, and actually Parchment. So, oh, and also Roses. I did actually blend out quite a few of them. I want to blend out maybe Scribe and Wilted. And simply because Wilted had a slightly grittier texture, so I want to see what the story is there. And this one was quite buildable, like it didn't come off as wildly pigmented first. That's my rationale. And I think when it comes to shimmers, what I might see about blending out is maybe that shade up here, which is Blossom, and maybe that golden shade as well, because I've already kind of blended those out before in a previous video. So let's see what the story is, and I'm going to try and hold the brush as I would normally. This is a Cash Beauty brush that came out as part of the colour trip. So actually maybe if I do it like this, and let's see how well it holds the lines. Does it allow me to kind of mess about with it? Does it disperse? So it does seem to blend to some degree. We're getting a little bit better coverage there in terms of kind of spreading the pigment. Now the lines aren't breaking down that much, but this is not a very fair comparison because again, I haven't used primer because I'm a cheap bitch and I don't want to be using primer for shit like this. Is that silly of me? Probably. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit of the shade on the brush and see what the story is, because that has long set. That has been on my arm for a good half hour. Now, you're seeing a little bit of fallout here, so keep that in mind. I didn't find that I had fallout with the other shades, but this might be unique to this particular shade, so keep that in mind. Starting to see some breakdown of those particular lines, but nothing major, so it does show. You'd have to kind of consider how best to work with that particular one. I'm also wildly impatient. So, you know, I probably could blend it out a bit more if I was more patient and didn't have other things that I have to do. Because, you know, life, etc., etc. But it does look like you can build it up. Like, do you see how it's kind of catching a little bit better? I think if I put down the correct primer for that, it would work. So I'm a little bit undecided on this one as to what that is functioning as, but I want to try out the green one. And what I'll do is maybe start off a little bit more fairly and take that on the brush and do a little dispersey here. Because again, it's a bit unfair the way that I'm doing this, but whatever, it's my channel. I'll do whatever the F I feel like. Now this is dispersing that little bit better. Look at that. And I'm able to blend the lines that little bit easier. Okay, so this one, a little bit more difficult. But again, I'd say if you have your primer on there, and you wouldn't really kind of be putting that on as a thing that you're blending into other things that much. It'd be more on the outer edges. So I don't mind that much. But this one, this would be like your big base color, and you'd really need that to be blending because you don't want to have harsh edges with something like this. And it's showing that it is actually blending pretty nicely. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of fallout, but to be fair, I didn't tap off excess. That's my own fault. There we go. Ooh. Okay, that is blending pretty nicely. Starting to get rid of some of the harsh edges along there. It's dispersing that a little bit better. And to be fair, I'm making it harder because that has been set that way for about 30 minutes. So it's not the nicest way of doing things. That's pretty good. I might, why not? Yeah, I'm going to take another brush here. And I'm going to test this further. It's a Zoeva 224, and I'm going into that shade Scribe, and I want to put it onto my arm here and just see what the story is. So initially, not super pigmented, but look how we're applying it with a brush. Tap, tap, tap. Again, we have no base on there. Starting to build up a little bit of pigment, nothing major. See how it's building. We're getting that little bit more. Stamp, 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 stamp. And then I want to see how well we can blend that out. Oh, that's blended. So again, I wanted to do that just to compare it to there because it had been set quite a bit. But here we can see that it blends really, really well, and that's without any sort of a primer. So fantastic. We know that much. Hurrah, science has been done today. Let's see what the story is with this shade up here. It's Blossom. And let's see the degree to which that will blend. I'm being very bad because I'm holding the brush in a very bad way. And apparently the green hadn't completely gone off there, but sure, look, it is what it is. Oh, that blends, no problem. That was a nice, easy one. I'm going to take another brush now rather than continually contaminating the same ones because I'm gross. Just going to take, no, that one isn't quite what I want. Bear with me. Okay, so this is a Morphe M506 and I'm going to blend out this one. I want to see what the story is here. Oh yeah, she's blending real nicely. Ooh, okay, I'm happy with that. That is very, very nice. Now, I want to see what some of these look like if we combine them, etc. So I have this shade Blossom, and I thought that was really interesting because it had an unusual gold thing when looking at it on camera in some places. I want to tap that just on top of Thorn. See what the story is there. What is that adding to the entire situation? Oh, that's quite nice. That's interesting. I have that lovely pale green, and what I might do is add Eternal, that more gold one. See what the story is there. Is it just too pigmented, or can we just pop that on top? Ooh. That's kind of interesting, or is it just me? I think that's quite interesting. So, oh, actually, I think what else I'll do, sorry, I'm way too interested in this now. I'm going to take Scribe, put that there. Like I said, it's a very light formula, but once you do get into it, you get your pigment. Let's see what Inkwell is like when we pop that on. Okay, Inkwell you can't really layer. Right, so keep that in mind. That's going to overwhelm. But we have that level of information now. What I'm going to do now is turn off the light so we can see what those ones that I've added the pigment to looks like, or the shimmer to. So this is what it looks like when we have one ring light on, and you can see it's picking up quite a bit of sparkle here and here. But obviously I'm going to turn off the ring light now and have that one direction of light from my torchlight. Okay, you can see there that colour just up there at the top. Oh, I don't even know if it's left or right for you, but you know, you were watching. I only dabbed that on and you can see the level of pigment, even there with that shade Bloom and the way that that kind of corresponded. So you can layer it and still see the matte underneath. Not so much with the grey, but to be fair, they're complementary colours, so it's kind of hard to tell in that particular instance. But they layer very, very nicely and very effectively. I know, you had thought you had gotten rid of me, but I thought this could be an extra little dimension in seeing how well these wipe off. So are we going to have any sort of staining? Because with shades like Thorn, there's like a deep purple to them, a reddish purple. Are we going to have a lot of staining? So I have a makeup removal wipe and we're going to see what the story is here. Now I will say I used this wipe already through the swatches. We don't have a huge amount of staining so far, a little bit there, but nothing that I'd be wildly concerned about. Yeah, no staining, so just as an FYI, it doesn't look like you'll have any issues with staining on this. But that's it, that's the whole palette done, dusted, and yeah, we'll talk about it together. I love that I tried to go outside and it was just an absolute disaster. It just has been raining constantly for the entire day. I would love to see this out in the sunlight. However, I think what is really standing out about this palette is actually the mattes. And I feel like these mattes are comparable to Girl Cult's formula. And you guys know I've talked about Girl Cult a frightening amount of time. They're a fantastic sea beauty brand. And I feel like Rooks has managed to get that sort of a quality in terms of the mattes. You can see that initially you may not get a huge amount of pigment, however, very, very buildable. And that's my personal preference. They're a little bit easier to work with. You don't have as much of an issue in terms of blending. It's just smoother to work with. You can also see a few of those are absolutely fantastic as toppers, like annoyingly beautiful. This shade Ink, I mean, need I say anything else? It's absolutely stunning. I think it's a beautiful palette. I'm beyond delighted that I have it. I do want to get those multi-chromes. Hard to know if I've gotten them in the interim because they did release on Friday. So hopefully if you have ordered this, it's on its way to you, or if you're making a decision as to whether or not it's something that you're interested in. I'm hoping that this is helping to facilitate your decision one way or the other. You know what I'm going to say. There's very little in terms of makeup that you need, right? And it's not for me to tell you, oh my God, you need this, don't walk. No, right? That's literally none of my business. I'm hoping that this is giving you an idea as to whether or not these are the sort of formulas that you gravitate towards, whether or not these are the sort of tones that you're interested in, etc. Because I'm all about making some more informed decisions. I've kind of been getting a little bit better at that of late because I am still a ridiculous collector, but I'm a bit better about what I'm buying, and I'm hoping that I'm passing some of that on to you guys. I mean, I think it's a gorgeous palette, but I mean, I have a horse in this race. As I said, affiliate, PR, all of that sort of thing. So take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt, but you know yourself, you can trust your eyes. You saw all of this on video. You could have probably watched it on mute. Maybe you're watching me on mute right now. What am I saying? You guess. I don't know, maybe you've closed captions on, I don't know. But anyways, my gorgeous friends, I am so interested to see what you guys think of this. Do you like it? Did you pick it up? All of that sort of thing, just simply because I'm nosy. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell, simply because it's polite. And do please share, because sharing is caring. Except, of course, for STDs, in which case, just wrap it up. Don't be gross. There's only so much syphilis medication that can go around. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.